Well, welcome everyone to NAMI at Noon. I'm Amy Brundle. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at NAMI North Carolina, and we are thrilled to have everybody here for today's webinar. First of all, of course, we would love to thank our sponsors for today's webinar. That is Bristol Myers Squibb and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, specifically the Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services. Just a couple of housekeeping items as normal. If you have any questions for our speaker today, please put them in the chat section or the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer them towards the end. We'll also be sending out any materials, a recording, a link to the speaker's website, etc. Later on, probably early next week, we'll have that out to everybody who registered. And now, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Gabrie'le Eato. Gabby is a neurodiversity advocate, psychometrist, public speaker, and founder of Eleable. Her work focuses on autism, ADHD, mental health, accessibility, suicide prevention, and inclusive education. Through both lived experience and professional insight, she's passionate about helping communities understand neurodivergent individuals beyond stereotypes, labels, and limitations. It's a tall order, but we're excited to have you here. Welcome, Gabby. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. Yes. All right. So, do you want me to just start now? Is it okay? Okay.
Absolutely. The floor is yours,
Awesome.
ma'am. Go for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name's Gabby. Again, thank you guys for coming here today. I'm really greatly appreciative of the time that you're taking out of your day to view this presentation. As Amy mentioned, I am a psychometrist, so I am specialized in conducting autism and ADHD evaluation. I worked behind a forensic psychologist for my internship work, and I also have like my own agency that I work through, and I do a lot of just advocacy work. I'm working on going on a neurodiversity advocacy tour next year, where I'm going to be going to like all different states and just kind of working toward getting education and resources out. Because for me personally, it was very difficult to find the resources and help. I was a little later diagnosed in life, but there was a lot of misunderstanding as a child. So that led to some thoughts of suicide. I almost took my life because of it. So that's what inspires me to do what I do today. On TikTok, I have 105,000 followers and I'm a verified content creator. I do a lot of things to just kind of facilitate growth in our community and get people to understand. So this is going to be my presentation. And yeah, so I'm going to share my screen now. So let's do this. Oh, it's like doing something weird. Give me a moment. Sorry. It should be showing my screen now. So hopefully everybody can see it. Amy, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, that
Okay, good,
works.
good, good. Okay, so this is my website. I've been coding since I've been 10 years old. I scored top 1% global on the WACE IQ for spatial reasoning, so I put my presentation on it. Um, so it's like house on like a hidden link. So there's that. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay. So my whole motto is autism, ADHD more than a label. I really, again, focus on understanding neurodivergence beyond stereotypes and recognizing the mental health impact of masking and bullying and isolation. A lot of times, neurodiversity is spoke about separately, and mental health is not often crossed very well, but I try to bridge the gap because they're often like very closely connected. So, what we'll explore today is exploring beyond the stereotypes, masking and burnout, understanding burnout versus depression, mental health, suicide prevention, compassionate support, how you can support an individual that has autism or ADHD, encouraging people to take a person first perspective, understanding that not everyone sees the world outside the same lens you do, and fostering belonging and love, because I believe love should be the foundation of everything you do. So, what is neurodiversity? Well, neurodiversity can take place in multiple different forms. We have autism, we have ADHD, all sorts of things. It really just means that the brain is diverse. So, like, there's different perspectives of like brains, like different types of brains in the world. So, not any two brain is the same. And it's very important to understand that you could be talking to somebody and maybe not even notice that they have a different perspective or their mind is just different than you. But it's just a matter of being like inclusive. So neurodiversity is just, it means that there's diverse minds. That's really how I see it. And autism, ADHD, these are different kinds of forms of neurodiversity under neurodiversity. So every person is different again, and that's not the only types. Like you have things like Down syndrome where the brain is different. Everybody's brain is unique and it's different. Um, Autism and ADHD are not things to be scared of. I know that a lot of parents get scared when their child is diagnosed with autism. They're like, "Oh my gosh, my child must be like for life they're not going to be able to do these things or what." But I take a perspective of life of working with the mind and not against it. I know that when I got diagnosed, my own family was very scared and they kind of like did not support a lot of what I do, and they still kind of are a little confused on some things, but I feel like education and resources will help people understand. So it's not something to be scared of, and it's not something to like condemn or be like, oh, this is terrible or anything like that. Like, yeah, there are struggles with autism and ADHD. I'm not going to lie, there are struggles, but when you have a positive mindset and you look at things from a positive perspective, it really can change the whole, like, it can change your life, really. Neurodivergence does not have one look. So some people with autism make eye contact, some don't. Some people with ADHD are visibly hyperactive. Some people mask that behavior. It's not always noticeable, autism, ADHD, or anything. Like somebody might have learned throughout their life, through their childhood, that the right way to do things, but they may not even understand why it's the right way to do things. They just know if I do this behavior, then that means that it's the right thing to do. So sometimes, like somebody with autism might do something the right way for a long time. Maybe they'll make something like a mistake, but then, like, oftentimes somebody will like be like, oh, well, you understood before. Why don't you understand now? When truly they probably were acting the whole time. Maybe they didn't understand the whole time and they just kind of got people to kind of think they understood so that they could just get by in life. But eventually it leads to a breaking point where people do notice and it can't really be hidden. So that kind of happened with me. Like for a lot of my life, I would like mask so many different behaviors of myself. And like I had learned that you don't do certain things. So like I would get a lot of confusion at school. I was threatened to be held back a grade in school because I completely stopped talking in school because a lot of my words would get mixed. I'm very verbal, but how it impacts me is on a nonverbal level because autism is not just a verbal thing, it can be nonverbal. So, nonverbal communication is everywhere you go. So, like maybe I'm talking to a friend and they're tired in a discussion. I may not notice that they're tired in a discussion and I might just keep going. Somebody might think that it's rude, but it's not me being rude. It's just I simply didn't understand. So, I value very explicit communication. And I believe there's a lot of other people that kind of live like this too, especially as somebody who has done a lot of evaluations and spoken to a lot of parents and understood. So I guess a lot of these assumptions, like maybe not making eye contact, right? Some people make eye contact, some people don't. For me, I make eye contact, so not everybody knows, but I have a very strong sensory aversion to eye contact, but I've learned to mask it and just like get by, but it is very difficult. At one point, I didn't really make a lot of eye contact. And there's a lot of sensory things that I have too, where like when I'm going to like outside, maybe like the sun is really, really like intense for me regularly. So like I'll get really bad migraines, or sometimes people might think, oh, or like they used to think, because I've done a lot of speech therapy, OT kind of stuff, but previously, like people would think a lot of times like I was kind of like being difficult, or maybe I was being kind of like spoiled or a brat, right? When really I was really struggling immensely and I just needed support because a lot of times these behaviors are seen as just like normal behaviors that somebody, but not everybody again sees everything outside the same lens you do. So for me, it really impacted me. It really got on my self-esteem. At school, I started copying a lot of like kids and stuff. So what happened was like kids would be like, "Why are you copying me?" And I learned to copy because I wanted to get along with the other kids. So I would do things that they were doing, which is not okay. You shouldn't always be copying somebody. You should be yourself and value your purest essence. But for me, I was doing that and it caused me a lot of problems at school. Kids at school told me to take my life. So I got older and it really got to me and I nearly did. And it was just not a good thing. So yeah, the reality is not everybody sees everything outside the same lens as you do. And it's important to also know that autism does not have one look. Stereotypes are really strong and they're really sad, but there's been a lot of research to kind of understand it and whatnot. I don't know if anyone has any questions at all right now, but if anyone has questions, I'm willing to take any of them or not. I'll just keep going.
There is one. We've got a question. May I ask how old you were when you were diagnosed? Do you use an ADOS for an assessment?
So yes, so I am trained in the gold standard ADOS. So that's the diagnostic observation schedule. So that is the gold standard for autism eval. The ADOS is the ADOS that they're probably talking about. So I was diagnosed at an older age. I was diagnosed about 3 years ago. And when I got diagnosed, I remember I actually was being mismedicated for other things because it presented a certain way, but nobody actually gave me a formal diagnosis of anything. I was just medicated, and I ended up with a lot of like symptoms and stuff. So yes, I'm trying to read the comments, sorry. So yeah, I personally I was diagnosed a little later in life, and I am trained in a gold standard ADOS eval for autism. And the ADOS is a good way to assess because it also helps like if you need to get like benefits for like your children or like if you really want to be certain of the autism, like that is the best way to kind of like test for it. I wanted the ADOS myself because it was the gold standard. So hopefully that answers the question well. But was there any other questions at all?
It looks like there was one. Um, Wondering if you're aware of psychological testing in the triangle area that is free or lower cost.
So I am not too certain. I'm not in North Carolina. I'm from another state. I'm in Ohio. So I don't know. I'm not really aware of that, but I don't know. I'm not aware. No. So
Okay, that might be something that our
um,
helpline team may be able to help with. So I'm going to put their information in the chat just in case somebody wants to reach out.
okay. Okay. Perfect. So any other questions before I continue?
I think we're good.
Okay. So, next. So, what is masking? So, I kind of talked about this a lot. It's very big for me. So, it's changing your communication style. So, sometimes in autism, a voice may appear very, very flat. Like they might have a flat effect where somebody speaks very like monotone. But oftentimes, also in girls, it can also be a very high-pitched voice. So, for me as a kid, I mean, kids all the time have like high pitched voices and stuff, but growing up, I would change my voice because as I got older, my voice didn't really change to be like lower, if that makes sense. Like, so neurodevelopmentally, it stayed like it was very higher for a long time. And I just kind of felt inconfident in it. So I then kind of changed my voice to be lower. Like, I would go to the grocery store, and it's kind of funny. Like, if I was like on a phone call or something, somebody would stop me and they would be like, "Oh, your voice sounds like Disney." So it was kind of funny because like for me, I took it so seriously. I did not like that, but I learned that actually it's not a bad thing to love yourself and keep your voice. Now I actually have like a podcast and stuff like that, and it's a very like good podcast, I think. A lot of people seem to like it. I do a lot of like motivation content and stuff like that. So yeah, people might change their vocal tone or like maybe like they might overexpress happiness or overexpress because they want to prove to somebody that, I love you or like I care about you because their normal expression might not like convey it to somebody in the way that they think it should be, if that makes sense, due to like the normal stereotypes. So a lot of times people also like copy the speech patterns of others. Like I was saying, I copy other people. I would copy what people say, phrases they would say. I remember I would go on YouTube and I would like Google like all these things on how to change myself to fit like how other people kind of are communicating. And I just realized it's so bad because it's really about focusing within yourself. Because when you focus outward of yourself and you focus on all these people around you, you're left without. So that's like my saying is like when you focus within, you'll have everything you want. But if you focus with the outward, you're going to be left without. So it's really important to focus on yourself and who you are and loving yourself for who God kind of created you to be and not worrying about what other people think. I would hide my sensory needs. So, like, I would be really tired after school when I was younger. I would go home and I would, I would be really distraught. Like, I would be really frustrated. And I thought it was depression because it came across as depression. It turned into depression because what happened was I would be very burnt out from sensory at school. I remember there was one time in, I think, elementary school, I got up and I just turned the lights off in the whole entire classroom because I was just done. I was very done. I had a migraine. I was agitated. As a kid, you don't really know how to regulate these, so it comes across as you're being like difficult, but it's really about inclusivity. If the classroom had like lights that were like dimmer or like they were kinder, like and kind of considered the unique range of minds that are in the classroom, it would have really changed a lot of things for me at school. But I would go to school, there's a lot of kids yelling. I get home, and sometimes home is really loud too. So, like, I would just go and lay against the wall and I just would like cry myself to sleep every night because I would get depressed because I felt very misunderstood. I was very communicative. I can speak, I talk, and nobody understood me. I felt like I was kind of like trapped in this bubble. And even when I went to go get a sensory evaluation as an adult, I had to go to a children's hospital. I was very fortunate because I worked at Nationwide Children's Hospital and I met somebody who was like, we can do this evaluation. So they kind of put me through when they don't usually see people the age that I was. I would go looking for resources and support, and there was none for adults. So if you're like an adult, it was like you don't get any support at all. And autistic children turn into autistic adults. So it's very important to have like a community. So that's actually why I made my nonprofit, which you'll see here. And my nonprofit is focused on fostering safe neurodivergent communities. I'm working on getting some grant funding so that we can have like an actual location. I have a brand specialist who's worked with people like in Hollywood and so many great things. She's helping me, and I'm gonna have her like design a whole facility. So what it's gonna be is it's gonna be like a facility eventually where it'll be split off into two. We'll have sensory seeking and sensory not so seeking, and the building will kind of split off, and hopefully people can kind of find a safe space within there, find resources, education. I have like this resource directory that people can go to on the site as well. And there's like it's powered by another organization I partnered with previously, and I do like the eval, all that. So there's all sorts of things. The whole point is this is to be a hub and hopefully an international hub for people who can't find the resources for neurodiversity, autism, and ADHD. So I'll continue on. Yeah, but like a lot of masking, there's like performing identities. Like a lot of people change themselves. And, even if you're not autistic, even if you don't have ADHD, it's really important to just love yourself. And you don't have to change yourself for other people because when you focus on yourself, it really does change everything. It helps you really kind of navigate life a lot simpler. When I chose myself and I decided to choose me, I learned that, people might think things, they might say things, but I don't give my energy to people who are focused and committed to misunderstanding me. And when you learn to do that, you can focus on the things that actually truly matter and create beautiful things from that. That's why I invest so much energy in my website design. I designed this website that you're actually like viewing and stuff. And it's really about putting your energy towards things that are important and not people who don't understand or who are focused on understanding like the stereotypes and not the real things in life. But I do what I do because there's not really a lot of people who talk about these things from a clinical perspective at the cross of like suicide prevention and the lived experience. And I think it's so important. I'll also be doing a TED Talk here soon, which is really cool. And I'll be talking a little bit more in depth about that as well. So, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I changed a lot about myself to fit, and I would change my clothes. I remember I would change, like, I remember my mom would buy me these clothes as a kid, and I would rip all the single tags out. And my mom, I remember, like, all of my friends were definitely neurodivergent growing up, and I didn't really, as a kid, like, I didn't know. I found, because usually people who are neurodivergent, they kind of navigate to other people who are neurodivergent, because just in life, you usually find people who are similar to you, who are like a reflection of who you are. I truly believe everybody is a reflection of yourself. But that's just a different thing. But I really believe that, I had a lot of friends who were neurodivergent and stuff. And, some of the comments and statements that would be made to me were kind of like, why are you hanging around these kind of people? Or like, why do you do this? Or why do you do that? And it it didn't make sense because I guess like people just have these stereotypes in their mind, but it doesn't matter what somebody looks like. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter the mind they have. It's important to just be loving to everybody. And you don't have to fit yourself into a mold. You just live your life for you. The mental health impact of masking, again, I lost my identity. I was a person I was not. I really changed myself completely. I tried to get people to like me. I was so focused on the wrong things. I had so much anxiety. I had burnout, I had depression, I was isolated. I had a lot of exhaustion, but I was still pushing through it. I have ADHD, so sometimes it can clash. And, sometimes autism in girls gets mixed with bipolar because bipolar has like mania and sometimes people have like a mixed mood. So sometimes that mixed mood can actually be interpreted because sometimes the depression and the burnout mixed with anxiety and ADHD can present very much like a hypomanic episode or like a mixed episode or not hypomanic but like a mixed episode. So with me, I remember that, like, burnout wise, I would be super tired. So, burnout and depression are two different things. Burnout is when you're actually really exhausted, you're tired, you feel like you want to get up and do stuff, you feel motivated to do things, but you just simply can't get out of bed to do it. You feel like you're just trapped, like, because you're just so sensory shot, is what I call it. I call it sensory shot. With depression, it is accompanied by having like a very depressed mood. So like you don't feel really motivated. You feel like life is just not well. You don't want to be here. You might feel suicidal. So that's the difference between the burnout and the depression. Burnout can lead to depression a lot of times. And burnout is common when you have had so much sensory input and you kind of just don't give yourself a chance to take a break. And with me, I'm very like, I want to get this done. I want to get this done. I want to get this done. So I oftentimes will end up in burnout and I still try to push myself through, but that leads to depression because then I feel kind of useless and I'm like, man, why can't I just get stuff done? But it's very important to give your body the rest that it deserves. A lot of times people fight with their mind, but really, sometimes if your mind is tired, your mind is tired. You should give it the break that it deserves. If you give it the break it deserves, oftentimes it will not lead into depression. I do a lot of like coaching and stuff, and I've found with clients that when they really understand that they're in burnout and they're able to reach that, they kind of don't get to that state of depression. So if you can kind of like get to the burnout before it reaches depression and give yourself that break it deserves, it really is a good thing. And then a lot of times it won't lead to the isolation and the anxiety. Anxiety and isolation a lot of times can come from other people not really being compassionate and inclusive. And things like this, like these meetings that we're having today, people taking their time out is so important because it helps people understand. Because if nobody understands, nobody can actually make this world a better place for everybody. So, autism, ADHD, yes, but again, it's everybody in the world. It's not just autism and ADHD. It's about including everybody and helping everybody feel supported, checking in on somebody, even if they look like somebody who maybe like doesn't want to be bothered. it is good to leave people alone if they don't want to be bothered, but it's still good to check in every now and then and still make sure that that person's okay. Because sometimes in autism, maybe the person won't act like they need to be checked in on or something, but they might just feel like alone, you know? So it's just important to just be kind everywhere that you go. Bullying, the kids would call me a fat, ugly gorilla in school. They would tell me to, I don't want to like trigger anybody, but they would say really, really deep things. And it was really scary things that children would say. Kids are really mean. And they, it turned into me actually, like I ended up self-harming and I gone through a lot of things and then I ended up getting in trouble for self-harming because nobody understood. And, I started not really liking myself. I would look in the mirror and I ended up with an eating disorder. I started struggling with my eating. Struggled with bulimia, anorexia, at some point. And I remember at one point the doctor was telling my family that I'm gonna have to go to a facility. I had to do intensive outpatient treatment because I was struggling with my food. To this day, I still struggle a little bit with my eating. Well, a lot with my eating, but it's just about kind of like knowing that you are like a good person and you're worthy of eating. You don't have to change yourself for other people and just standing strong and loving yourself. So, yeah. But again, yeah, becoming misunderstood, being misunderstood can be dangerous. When I went to the doctor, and I was like inpatient for the suicidal ideation. I remember that the doctor told my parents that I think too clearly to have bipolar, but I have a lot of traits of bipolar and like all these things. And he never could formally diagnose me. And what it was the whole time was autism. He had medicated me anyway. And when he medicated me, my finger would just move on its own. And I had like tardive dyskinesia symptoms. And I remember that also, like, I tried to get a diagnosis one time, and the doctor literally like laughed at me. He laughed at me when I said something because I'm so verbal. But I just knew something was up with me because, like, when I would talk to people, I could tell there was something that wasn't being conveyed, and a lot of it was nonverbal communication, is what it was. Because I have like a severe deficit in nonverbal communication. Like, having a deficit in nonverbal communication does not mean that somebody can't understand nonverbal communication. It just means that they may struggle immensely with it. So, like, reading between the lines of a discussion used to be really, really, really hard for me. But again, I went to speech therapy. I got the OT I needed for sensory, and it really changed my life. So, yeah, that's why I take this really seriously because I really could have died and I really could have lost my life to this. And there's many other people I know who have autism, who have ADHD, who speak just like me. And, there's people who are nonverbal. I have a lot of friends who are nonverbal too. It's just the misunderstanding across the board is honestly like insane. And it's really sad because it's so hard to find places that are willing to even dedicate like time for like even a speaker like me to come speak and talk about it because people don't really understand the importance of it. And it's really, really disheartening and very sad. But I really do believe that with people advocating more, we can really change this. So that's why I'm also partnered with another organization and I'm doing some work in the community to help with kind of I'm working on a federal level and with a state level to kind of influence policy change and whatnot. I'm also partnered with like some communities to just kind of like get like autism evaluations in a more affordable rate. I've been doing this for a really long time. Like since I got diagnosed, I just felt like this really strong passion for it because it was so hard for me. And when I spoke for another conference, it really was like, it was amazing because I could help get those resources. So I'm working on a fund. Hopefully, eventually, it's going to be called like the Gab Fund. And basically, all the money that's dedicated to that will help people get autism evaluations. So, like families that are struggling don't have to worry. In my free time, I do free autism evaluations at times for people. Like, I had a woman come to me and she had been like crying all night because her son is autistic and she could not find, and the wait lists are insane and crazy. And then by the time you do go get the diagnosis, sometimes the doctor is not even trained properly. Like they just kind of give a diagnosis and they don't understand the stereotypes and whatnot. So that's something I'm constantly battling, and that's why I have like a petition on NDVerse here that I'll show you guys. So like I have like a petition where people can sign. I'm trying to get to 100 signatures. Basically, when somebody signs it, it's helping get those education and resources out for the community to get like support. So I understand it can become dangerous. There's a lot of misunderstanding, and I'm trying to work actively to kind of fix that problem. So, the reason why neurodivergent people can experience greater emotional distress, I kind of talked about this. There might not be understanding. People might think one thing and it's really another. Social rejection. People might think, oh, this person's kind of like weird or they're not nice, but it's not, there's no, I don't know. Weird is a very, it's one of these terms that people define in their own, you know? So, like, just because somebody's different doesn't mean that you should be rude to them. And it's good to be unique and beautiful because our unique differences are what make this world a beautiful place. We have a lot of people who don't really support sensory needs. You go to a grocery store, it's very loud. I am so happy that, advocacy wise, a lot of people, we started advocating, and now Walmart has like sensory hours in some locations, which is really beautiful to me. And there's a lot of different stores that are starting to adapt sensory hours into their schedules and like into their buildings and whatnot. People are becoming more understanding because of this education. The pressure to mask is very real because you want to fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. Nobody wants to feel isolated. So that makes things hard. A lot of professionals who are trained to conduct autism eval are trained in a lot of like older perspectives and stereotypes. It's very important to understand the new information, the new studies, the new everything that's going on around it, and understand that everybody is unique. You might have autism and you might be nonverbal. Some people think nonverbal autism means that someone can't speak at all. There's a lot of people who are nonverbal who speak very minimal, like one word, two word, but there's a lot of misunderstanding, and it's about just combating that. If you hear somebody saying something that's not the correct thing, you can correct them in love. I really believe in counseling in love. There's a lot of people who are very like, you have to believe this, you have to understand this. And I understand that perspective because there are a lot of people who try to say things and people just don't understand or not willing to listen. But again, if we have love as a foundation and we counsel in love, people are more receptive and understanding. So it's a matter of just kind of coming from a point of love and understanding, understanding that somebody might have been trained the wrong way. They might have misunderstood, or like for me, my parents for so long, they have all these stereotypes in their minds. So I had to be faithful and I had to think, well, they grew up in a time that autism wasn't very understood, so they have their own perspective. But it's a beautiful thing having that positive mindset. It's a beautiful thing that we can now understand it from a new perspective. And it's a beautiful thing that we're getting the education. More people are advocating, more people are providing the resources to understand. So yeah, that's the big thing there. You shouldn't make every difference personal. Sometimes somebody with autism might look like they're not listening to you. Or somebody with ADHD too. They might get distracted, but doesn't mean they're distracted from you. For me, I had learned to mask. So one of the ways I had learned to mask growing up was kind of looking at my phone. So like a lot of times growing up, I would look at my phone and kids actually started laughing at me because I think they noticed what I was doing. But I would look at my phone so I don't have to make eye contact with people because I felt it was more socially accepted. So sometimes it's not always what you think it is. So somebody might not text you back for like a month. That doesn't mean they have something against you. Maybe they're going through something. And again, like it's just a matter of understanding that not everybody sees things outside the same lens you do, and including everybody and loving everybody, having compassion and having support for people who maybe are not the same as you. Sometimes in autism, the conversation can seem like it's reflecting back to me, me, me. So like it's very easy to say things from an I perspective because developmentally it's less complex than having to reciprocate. So social emotional reciprocity is one of these big things that we look at when we conduct an autism evaluation. And one thing in autism that is often common is sometimes a person might bring a conversation back to their interests or what do they like, what do they love, and sometimes people might think, oh, well, that seems really like conceited or like, it's not a nice thing. But really, that could be someone showing that they're interested and they want to relate to you and they want to help you understand them. But a lot of times, like maybe somebody will do this, they get home and even like in families, like, okay, so like you might get home and you might be really tired and exhausted, and then your parents are yelling at you, like, hey, fix this, do that. And maybe the kid has a meltdown. Maybe the kid is struggling because you have to think it's like you go to school, you go to work, you go outside, everywhere you go, people are telling you to change. But you go home, that should be your only safe place to be happy. And then even there, the people you love the most are telling you change yourself, and maybe they don't even understand you. And living like that your whole entire life is very, very difficult. So it's important to kind of just know that not everything is personal. And sometimes people really just they have some stuff going on where they're trying to work through it and they love you. They're just working through it. There's a lot of things where people might say, you should already know that. So like sometimes like I have social pragmatic communication. So sometimes I say one thing, but it comes across as like another, or like not just comes across, I say it another way that is not intended. So I have a really high processing speed. But the problem with that is while I have a high processing speed, I have so much information I take in on a daily basis. So there's a lot of information coming in my mind, and it can be really hard to kind of sort through it. So, like, when I'm speaking to somebody, like, maybe I'm hearing like footsteps in a building, or I hear the fan, or I hear outside the birds chirping, and like, it's like I hear everything, and there's so much input. So, even though it's a higher processing speed that I have, not everybody with autism has that, but for me, I do. And every person with autism is unique and different. Even though it seems like some areas I may be really good in, like coding since 10 years old, or scoring top 1% global on a WACE IQ for spatial reasoning, like there's still things that kind of come at the cost of that. So I'm considered like a savant in that sense because savant is somebody who's really good at one thing, but then like another thing can be like a struggle, like a deep struggle. So for me, the nonverbal communication, the sensory input, there's always like something that can kind of like, I don't know, it's like it's kind of a mismatch, if that makes sense. So for me, I think that understanding that not everybody sees it the same. Yes, you might have a high processing speed, but you could be battling through a lot of information at one time, and that's like overwhelming. And then sometimes I struggle with selective mutism. So, like, I'll be speaking with a friend, and then my words just go away. Like, I just can't talk. Like, I literally, my whole mind is empty. It's not like, I know everybody goes through it sometimes where they feel like they're talking, and maybe they're talking in a way that like they're talking and stuff, but what happens is like maybe they forget what they want to say. But selective mutism is different because it's like I know what I want to say. It literally, I just can't get it out of where I feel it from. So selective mutism can be a really strong thing too. But yeah, I don't want to get off topic. Big point here is again, don't take everything personal. Um, how can we offer better support? We can listen without dismissing other people's needs, ask people what helps them, communicate very clearly, reduce sensory barriers by kind of like, hey, do you want to dim the lights? In school, when I had teachers who would dim the lights, it helped me so much. And when I got the autism diagnosis, it made so much sense. I would get literally straight A's when the teachers would turn the lights off in the classroom. At school, since I was later diagnosed, I think teachers noticed there was something. They tried to tell my parents, but my parents didn't really want to take it. They were like, nothing's wrong with my child. And there was nothing wrong with me. It's just I saw things a little bit different. And it's very important as a parent to support your child because if you see things very negatively, it's going to be really hard to get that child support. And then as they get older, it just becomes harder. So I guess getting that support for people is so important and providing them with the resources they need. Respecting, like, if they need to regulate, sometimes, like, a child might be in, like, a meltdown mode. If they need time to recoup, give them the time to recoup and go where they need to go to kind of recoup their mind. Protecting mental health is so important because when we put people in a zone where they feel endangered, it's a problem. So, like sometimes people with autism, they might have a meltdown and then the parents like yelling at them and they're like, why are you acting like this and all that. That actually just makes the situation worse because yelling is exactly what put the person sometimes into the meltdown because it's a lot of sensory input, right? Yelling is not effective. It's about kind of understanding what calms this person down. For me, I keep a lot of like sensory tools by me. I was partnered with Ono Roller. I did a lot of like Ono Roller stuff. I don't know if anybody knows what it is, but it's like a tool that like you can kind of like spin with your hand. It's not a fidget spinner, but it's really, really soothing. And then I also like keep a lot of like putty or like slime or something with me. So if I am feeling stressed, I can use this to calm down. Um, a lot of kids they stim and parents try to get them to stop stimming. Like growing up, my mom, I remember like I would shake my leg like so much all the time. She'd be like, "Stop shaking your leg. People are gonna think something," you know? And I understand her perspective. She is not a bad person, but she just didn't want people thinking things about me. So, you know, it would make me even more stressed out. So then I would go home. I feel depressed. And it's a cycle over and over again. And it's important to understand that we all are different and it's okay. It's just about working with your mind and not against it. I was in all these things and I wasn't enjoying my life, but when I decided to make my business, I now like have like a whole like organizational structure. When you Google my name, I come up as like an organizational founder. I think it's amazing. But it's like I took all of the things that were a struggle to me and I took all the interests that I had because I would go at home and I would put all this time, I would play neopets.com and I learned to do the coding on there and I didn't know it was going to be like a business thing for me, but I started doing the website design and I crossed it at psychology and a lot of business owners were like, man, this is crazy because I helped this lady and she literally like made six figures the first year after working with me because I just put it together. Like there's something you can do to different websites to kind of help convert and stuff. So I kind of like took the interest that I had and I canvassed it and I put it into something good. And instead of focusing from a negative perspective, I made a very positive thing out of it. So now I have NDVerse, Eleable, which is this. I'll show you guys. So this is my website. I designed this. It's like different, but this is the website I designed. It's fully coded. Um, I've worked with like casting director. I worked with a lady who advised the president of the United States at one point. I just took it into something good and put it into something that I wanted to be good. So I focus on ADA, inclusive design, and I'm working on like a law degree and stuff like that. So it's just taking everything into a good thing and not working against your mind. So, a safer space at home is accepting the communication and regulation differences. At school, addressing bullying. At work, just understanding everybody's different. If somebody is not responsive in a group chat at work, it does not mean that they're mad at you. It doesn't mean they're being rude to you. I remember at some point when I was working at the hospital, somebody like reported me to my boss because they had messaged me and I hadn't responded because I was very overwhelmed and they took it very personal and the boss had to talk to them and explain, hey, this person is not. Luckily, the boss has a child that's autistic, so she understood. But people take things personal a lot and it's not a personal thing. It's just everybody's unique in their differences and just because they show like a certain way doesn't mean it's that way. It's about understanding the person on a deeper level. And I have learned that a lot of people, you should be yourself because if other people are feeling like a certain way, it means that they've not taken the time to really to get to know you as a person. And if somebody has not taken the time to get to know you as a person, for me personally, that opinion does not matter to me. And that's one thing I do love about being like autistic and having ADHD is it's taught me to stand strong in my essence and who I am and not let what other people think affect me. Because the people who do love me for me, they will be committed to loving me for me. They're not going to make me question or worry because they care about me and they're good people. So it's important to just know that. It's always important to see people beyond a diagnosis. We have a very wide range of, just people across the spectrum. So not everybody's the same. My presentation is just one presentation. Everybody is unique in their own way. While autism fundamentally, like everybody meets the same exact diagnostic criteria in different ways. Um, Everybody is unique, everybody's different, but it's important to just really understand people and love them and be compassionate. Understand that we're all worthy, we're all capable, we're all human. And not anybody is like, nobody deserves to be treated like they're an outcast or isolated or like they're not worth it to be here. And just because somebody presents differently doesn't mean that you should dismiss their needs. Because, like, oftentimes, because I'm so verbal and because I have done like my website and I have my NDVerse and my Eleable, sometimes people make the assumption, well, she's well off, right? Well, I still struggle immensely with sensory needs. I still struggle with depression sometimes. I still struggle with suicidal thoughts sometimes. And it doesn't mean that I'm incapable. It doesn't mean that I won't get past it as I don't focus my energy there. But at the same time, there are a lot of struggles and it might not go away. But if we focus on the positivity and we understand that just because something looks one way doesn't mean it's that way. We can all just kind of like have a good community across the board. Again, not just autism, not just ADHD, just everybody as a whole. If we look at one another from a good perspective and we understand that everybody is a human being, we can like really change the world. So I told you guys about why I founded NDVerse already. NDVerse is just really a place to provide that support, compassion, love, resources. I'm actively working again on like a federal and state level to just get people connected in the right way to, foster compassion, belonging, community, safety. Key takeaways. Autism is different for everybody, not two people. When you've met one person with autism, you've really met one person with autism. That is a saying that my speech language pathologist told me a long time ago when we were working together. I remember, and actually, I guess I can share with you guys. So, like, a lot of people wonder how can somebody like me need speech therapy? So, speech therapists actually work in other ways too. So, they work with nonverbal, not just physical speech, but they would do like a lot of things with me, like where they would show me pictures of people's face and they ask you, what does this mean? What does that say? And like they would kind of like read through certain things with me. So like if I didn't understand something, they would kind of like help me understand because I was very direct also. So some people would take that like, oh, she's being mean, but I wasn't being mean. I just was honest. So there's a lot of different things in life. There's a lot of hidden communication. Just knowing that everybody sees it different. Neurodivergence may not have one appearance, personality, ability, gender, race, life story. Masking can hide distress, while making people like seem like they're okay when they're really exhausted, burnt out, depressed. Bullying is never okay, obviously. Having clear communication is important. Helping people with autism understand boundaries is very important in a kind way. Because sometimes, like, they can keep going and going and going. Like, for me, I will keep going if I see somebody's interested and they're not explicit with me. So, if somebody's autistic, just let them know, like, hey, like, I'm tired or just be explicit. Hiding stuff is really bad, I think for me, because I probably won't pick up on it. Yeah, it's really important to have that like communication, just genuine listening to people and understanding that everybody is human. Again, someone may look like they understand, even when they do not. They may need more time to process. They might not need more time to process. Sometimes it feels like maybe somebody's talking over you or they're saying things, but really it's just maybe they're excited, about what you have to say because it's a special interest or something they feel comfortable talking about. For me, I don't really talk to people a lot. I'm very like reserved in a lot of ways. But when I am talking about something I'm passionate about, I can keep going and going and going and going. And sometimes people kind of become like mean in a way, like they become like, man, I don't want to hear this anymore. And I can understand that, but like if you tell me ahead of time before it gets to that point, like, or like you just let me know, like, hey, like, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about this. I'll understand, and I'll respect that. I mean, you have the good, bad, ugly everywhere. So, like, there are some people with autism who maybe are not going to respect the boundaries and stuff like that. But again, it's a matter of just being respectful of everybody's communication style and just knowing, again, not everybody sees it the same way you do. What looks rude may actually be uncertainty. People may like give a hint and then like maybe we'll miss the hint and we'll dismiss it. Again, boundaries, all that stuff. Being direct is important. And then I talked about that already. Again, work with your mind, not against it. It's very important. Work with your mind, understand like who you are, love yourself, choose compassion, get support without feeling shameful about getting that support. Build around your strengths, be resilient because everybody is worthy and capable, and everybody deserves love, compassion, and respect. Acceptance begins when we stop asking people to become someone else. Just stay true to yourself, love yourself, respect our differences, and create spaces for people to belong. So this is the big thing that I really like kind of want people to understand is just work with the mind and not against it. Love people and understand that we're all different and it's okay. I have like this presentation that I don't know if Amy, I don't know if you're gonna like share this with people, but I did put it on my site so it's like accessible for everyone. It's gabrie'eato.com/presentation. And then like I have like resources and stuff for people there as well. So yeah, that's everything. I hope this was helpful. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do have a few questions.
Okay.
So yes, and I will make sure that that website gets sent out along with the recording. Full transparency, I am not in office tomorrow, so it'll probably be Monday, but we'll make sure that the whole crowd gets everything that you've presented today so that they can go back and find that as a resource because that's a lot of really valuable information. So we want to make sure that everybody's got access to that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank
We
you.
had a couple of related questions that I'm going to kind of put together. One
Yes.
is about the impact of culture and religion, specifically talking about the BIPOC community, and how those can that cultural aspect can, impact what you're talking about autism and ADHD. Does that kind of add another layer of complication to it?
Yes, so I am deeply spiritual. I am very, very spiritual. I am a Christian. I'm a very devout Christian, but I don't always like, I'm very different in my belief system. So I believe in like following God directly and not like other things. Like I feel like it's about loving yourself and not being hateful or rude to people. And for me, I was actually rebuked when I got diagnosed. So I was rebuked and I was told that, because of the autism, it's a demon and all this stuff. And that is most certainly not true. Autism is just a different way of presentation. Like everybody's unique and different. And I think as somebody who is of color, autism culturally is different in our community too, because we communicate differently. All cultures, everybody communicates differently. So I have learned to trust God personally, again, because I'm spiritual and I believe in God and I love God with all my heart, mind, soul, strength. But I've also believed that, our mind is, we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, I believe. I believe that in the BIPOC community, sometimes like people can think that differences are automatically demonic. Not always true. In every community, people might sometimes think that, but I think that it's important as somebody who is of color, to understand that just because like we have a different way of presenting doesn't make us like demonic or anything like that. I know that like a lot of people in the BIPOC community kind of like we're very like our roots, I think, and like our upbringing like has taught us that mental health and neurodiversity and all these things are one of these things that we just kind of like have to like stand against. But really it's not like that. It's really just understanding it's different. Our mind is different and it's okay. Now, I believe in demonic things. I believe there is such thing as demonic possession. I do believe in those things. But I do not believe that autism in itself is demonic, like oppression or I think that again, it's the perspective you look at things from. If you know that you love God and you know you're a good person, I think that God does not make mistakes in the mind. And I think that my mind was made in a beautiful way. And again, focusing within myself and loving me is the most important. Hopefully that answers the question.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
Um, a couple other questions. Somebody wanted to know if you would tell us again the name of your not a fidget toy that you use for self-soothing.
Yeah, so it's called an Ono roller. I lost mine and I'm really mad, but I'll show you what it looks like. I was partnered with them and they had given me a discount code. I'll show you guys. Just give me one second. Let me find it. Or you know what, actually, I can probably just share my screen and show you. Here, wait. Okay, so oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. So this is it right here. It can be kind of like pricey, but I liked it and it helped me a lot. It calmed me so much and it's very like discreet. It's called an Ono roller. So like you roll it. Like I don't know how to explain this. So like I can probably show you on here. So this is what it looks
Hey
like.
guys, if you are looking for the ultimate fidget
You
toy,
see, you just like roll
yourself
it.
out.
Uh-huh.
It rolls like that. So that's it. Yeah. Ono roller.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Um, and then one question too is about neurodivergent professionals. So, a lot of people on this call may be a mental health provider of some kind, social work, etc. How can they, working in the mental health field, advocate for themselves? Because the field often preaches self-care and acceptance for clients, but still enforces neurotypical standards of behavior.
Could you ask the question one more time? I'm sorry. Okay.
So the question is, how can neurodivergent professionals in the mental health field advocate for themselves and their own needs?
Oh, love yourself. Choose yourself. If somebody doesn't accept you and you know your heart is in the right place, focus on you. Like, yeah, I know like you're in a workplace and stuff like that, right? But ultimately, you can't change other people's behavior. You can't change what other people are going to do. You can't change like any of that. But you can focus on being your best self, like your own health, your body, your mind, your spirit, really focusing on yourself. And I wouldn't focus on like what does this person think? Just I mind my business. When I go to work, like, well, I don't really I have my own like foundation and all this stuff now, but like when I used to work and stuff, I would often just like focus on me and I wouldn't really bother people and I just kind of keep to myself. And I had learned that, again, people are going to do what they're going to do. You can't change what other people think. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, I think we have time for one more question.
Uh-huh.
And that is, can someone who is autistic have introverted tendencies or characteristics?
Oh, much. Yes, 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 yes. So I am very much an introvert. Like it does seem like I'm extroverted a lot of times, but I'm very much introverted. So like I have a lot of people with autism can be introverted. There's so many people like across the spectrum. Everybody is different. Not two people are the same. Like everybody's unique and different. So yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Well, unfortunately, I think we're out of time, but this was an excellent conversation. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your personal story, your journey, everything that you've encountered. We just really appreciate all of that perspective. It's been really, really well received and really great information today. So thank you, Gabby, so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And also, before we go, I wanted to let everybody know. So I'll share my screen one more time, and because I know we're kind of out of time, but on my site, so when you go to my site, um, I have an Ask Gab section. So if anybody has any more questions, if you click this and scroll all the way to the bottom, you can submit questions to me, and I get all these questions here. And you're also welcome to like send me a message if you ever, and I try to answer them. But I have a lot of different questions people ask here. And again, it's just about bringing clarity around it. I'm really, really appreciative of all the nice comments that I'm reading right now. I couldn't read them during the
Yeah.
presentation, so I'm greatly appreciative. And I thank you guys for all the love and support that you are giving me. So,
Yeah. You
yes.
definitely hit a space that a lot of people needed to hear from. So thank you so much again for being here. And again, we'll be sending out resources to you all, including a recording of this session later on, probably Monday. So keep an eye out for that.
Mhm.
Also, our next NAMI at noon is going to be on August 13th. We're talking to Leah Stiles about eating disorders specifically in the military and veteran community. So you're not going to want to miss that session. So keep an eye out for it. But until next time, again, Gabby, thank you so much for your time and attention. And we hope everybody has an amazing afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a blessed day.